Hi, this is probably the last video I'm going to do about the whole Charlie Kirk stuff. This is loosely about it though. It's just an idea that I've been mulling over in my head for many, many years that has become super prevalent in the front of my prefrontal cortex, if that's where I think, the last couple days. I am actually in a weird location because I am set up to do a babysitter custom where I'm tied up and cleave gagged. So if you think my outfit looks a little bit more ridiculous than usual for topics like this, I don't care. I like to dress however. I don't feign solemnness by dressing a certain way. I don't like tone myself down or to pretend to be more sad about something or to pretend to care that you take me more or less seriously. If that's still a question for you, you're either new here, in which I would recommend you watch the first video that was ever created on this channel called Feel Free to Fap. If you're not new here, it's a good refresher too. It's my most popular video. You've probably seen it somewhere on the internet if you were on the internet 10 years ago. Anyway, I really do not have the answers. I think that is the only intellectually honest position. You don't have all the answers. You can say cute, quippy little things that might fix the problem, like, oh, we need to do this, or we need to limit this, or we need to get rid of this. But like, you can't, even if you sit there and think and spend all of your time thinking about what the possible butterfly effects and implications of those things, macro and micro level, and try to weigh them, not only are you going to come to a very subjective opinion at the very end anyway of what's better or worse, but you're not going to have all of the information. You cannot possibly know, and it's okay, the right answer to fix the problems of society. Your brain was not built to deal with the grief and the loss and the craziness of a whole society, of a whole world. It's like us here, maybe we're comfortable with seeing the starving children in China or wherever, mixed those up a little bit, but maybe we're more sensitized to seeing the atrocities across the world. We are not sensitized to knowing that there are billions of infinite universes out there, like a Rick and Morty thing, and we have to understand those losses and things as well. It's just not good for our brains. We are built to be in a little tiny tribe, in a little tiny village, and care about those things, and put all of our effort and empathy and sympathy and hard work into the village, and the village is supposed to help you raise your child, all that shit. That's kind of how we evolved. So to try to grasp a huge, multifaceted is an understatement, problem across society or even one country as a whole is just, it's ridiculous and frankly narcissistic to say that you know the correct answer and to be so emboldened in that answer that you hate other people who disagree with you. That was a long-winded way of saying the one thing that I do believe we could start to do, in my opinion, and it's just an idea, maybe it'll turn into some other weird shit down the line. Have you seen the Butterfly Effect movie with Ashton Kutcher? Have you played Life is Strange? You know that if you change time and turn back time and do certain tiny, minuscule actions like the fluttering of a butterfly wing, that could change everything. And our brains are not meant to grasp that. So anyway, if there is one thing that I would say that people need to stop doing, it's they need to stop othering each other. Like, that's it. Just take one little step, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, to stop othering one another. Because the moment, I don't like I made this video because I don't like the term evil. Let's just cut to the chase. I don't like when people say shit like, that was evil, it was an evil action, it's an evil person. These people are evil. And I know when you're really hurt because let's say someone close to you died or you feel like someone close to you or yourself is being affected, it's really easy to see someone else's actions as evil. But I would present a more nuanced and more humanized take, which is, it's not evil, it's the more tragic portions of the human condition. We all have within us the propensity to commit what you would call evil. We all have the ability within us to get so angry, so dysregulated, so mentally unstable, or just so whatever. One of the parts of the human condition can bring us to a very common, understandable, yet tragic part of the human condition, which is the propensity to kill, for violence, for anger, for hatred, and to willingly other someone else by saying that person, that group, those people, that thing is evil, you're taking away the human aspect of it, and you're almost making an excuse for it in a way. Instead of talking about the things that might actually have brought that person to do that thing because we agree with they're human and it's part of the human condition, we don't get curious about what happened that made them that way. We instead just label them as evil, and then anything that we do unto them is completely justified because they're this other thing. They're evil. They're not like human anymore. That's really how people use it. That's really how the switch that happens in your brain. And that's why I don't like the religious view on evil, like good and evil, stuff like that, where they can just literally write it off. It is part of the human condition to be so mentally unstable or so within your own echo chamber that you think it makes sense to take another life based on political differences. That is part of the human condition. There are butterfly wing flaps that could make you that person. You could have grown up in this society or in this situation where you're abused at home and you see one certain trigger trauma thing, and then you can't get it out of your head, and then you're stuck in this despair, and then you gain narcissistic and borderline personality traits, and then you think that the best way to use your life is to kill this other person that you think, based on, paranoid mental delusions or whatever, or just pure depression, anxiety, and trauma that you think is causing a world of hurt for other people. And you don't have to be as unhinged as someone who's going to take a fucking gun and end someone's life over their use of free speech. You could just be those people that are online joking about it or saying it, but they truly believe it. Like I said, jokes, in my opinion, are fine. It's like a way to cope. And if you're truly joking, but you have a different actual logical position or logical perspective, I think that's fine. And I also want to separate what you can do under severe emotional distress and what your logical opinion is. You can make mistakes that are contrary, even hypocritical to your logical position. But the idea is you're allowed to feel your emotions. Your emotions are valid, but you're always responsible for your actions because of those emotions, right? So you can have a totally different political opinion over here that you believe is the right, most logical opinion that will be best for the world. The most utilitarian opinion is like XYZ, like, do not kill your political opponents or something, right? Or never kill. You can have like a fully Buddhist, like just never kill. But what happens when you're emotionally distressed might be something completely different. So especially when I hear people say things like, oh yeah, what would Charlie Kirk's wife think now about the gun control arguments that he makes? Anti-gun control, so pro-gun. That was backwards. I'm not going to cut this either. Enjoy. I don't know. She's in a state of emotional distress and duress that you literally almost, she might do something or say something or feel something that is not in conjunction with her, whatever Christian view she has or her stance on guns. In that moment, she is going to feel something different. And that makes sense. I feel like a lot of people, they're so within their own experience that they don't realize that they can be feeling something, but that could not be true. Or they could be feeling something or do something, but that could not be what they think is best. Or you can even live in a certain way, but not think that way is best. A lot of people even have this cognitive dissonance when it comes to health and fitness and food. They sometimes act like living gluttonously and being morbidly obese is actually the right way, when really you could just be I've weighed it, and subjectively I like eating food. I just love eating food so much that I'd rather die early, and it's fine. I'm not saying it's the best way to live, but it's the way I want to live. Nobody really says that. They don't separate the right way from their way. It's just so odd to me that when everyone votes, they're voting for themselves, specifically their little bubble, maybe them and 3 other people, their family. They're not voting for the greater good. They're not actually thinking about what actually is best for society. And this is something that always bothers me by perpetually emotionally incensed political figures. Like the people who are like, I advocate for this because this happened to me. So like the people who are in a mass shooting or something and them staunchly advocating for gun control, it's always like, have you gotten past that point where you're so emotionally incensed that you can't see logic anymore? And have you actually channeled that and like grieved that and then decided to make what's try to make the jump to see what's best for society rather than what would have been best for you in that situation for your one or two friends? Because it is very possible and logically consistent and intellectually consistent to say, you know, let's say we lose 10 victims to gun violence. I'm minimizing it, obviously. It's just, let's say we lose 10 victims to gun violence, but there's no possible way to get rid of guns, and we save 10 people as well. To those 10 people that died from the gun violence, those people it's gonna feel like their fucking world. But if they're looking at it logically, if they're able to grieve and then take a step back and then see everyone as an individual and see the world as a whole as well on a macro level, they might not believe in gun control, even though in that moment gun control would have saved their loved one or themselves or whatever. Like, there is a difference, and people often do not see the difference. I feel like I've gotten off topic because I really do want to talk about the hate thing a little bit more. Like, I think it's the most important thing in the world, if we want to stop this, for everyone to just catch themselves in those emotional moments. I watched a video of Blair White. I used to watch her from time to time, but I just don't like get into politics that much anymore. And some people, they just feel more inflammatory, where it just feels like they're not catching themselves in the way that I'm talking here, and it kind of turns me off and I get bored of it. But I always do like to rewatch people's opinions or whatever. So I was watching her video on Charlie Kirk, and in that moment she is clearly so angry, so hurt, so scared, and she's saying things that are othering the other side, which is totally okay for her speech wise to do. But I hope that she can grieve in that moment and then later not say those things. But a lot of people will take something crazy happening on the other political side and just run with that as this whole group of people, and they're grouping people too, which is another awful thing. Like, if that person who killed Charlie Kirk was a staunch liberal, he's just one person. Not all staunch liberals want to murder people. You can say that it feels like there is a culture of those jokes being okay, but there's more nuance to everything here. I hope what I'm saying is making sense, because once again, it's just a stream of consciousness thing. She is talking about like, they do this, they do this, they do this. And you know that that's driving a bigger wedge between the two sides. You know, when you act that way, when you other people, when you say they, and you don't, and I'm sure I am one of the people who is guilty of not being super clear that when I say they, I mean people who do this, and they actually have to be proven to do this. So if I say those fucking, blue-haired libtards that think that, blah, 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 I'm not saying all blue-haired liberals are those libtards that think that, right? But a lot of people do that, and they do it for the whole other side. And then they call them evil. So another step further, they are other just by the virtue of being on the other side of the political aisle. On top of that, not only are they other by being on the other side, they're also other because they're evil, which is some nebulous religious term that makes it so that it doesn't even seem like they're human anymore. Like, I think she and some other people were calling them animals. Like, that one guy even that shot Charlie is not an animal. That one guy that fucking stabbed someone on the bus is not an animal. And we need to remember that. We need to remember that this is just a very, very unfortunate circumstance. Maybe that could have been prevented. Let's not even go that far. It's a very unfortunate circumstance of the human condition. Why did that guy do that? What factors can make a guy like that? You can't just write it off as evil. You're being intellectually and emotionally dishonest because you're making yourself a pit of hatred instead of a wealth of understanding that could potentially be a catalyst in preventing it in the future. It's so scary to see how people other people so much when they're in their most intellectual. Like, I understand. I give credence. I give grace, I guess would be a good word. I give grace to people who are like literally going through it at the moment. Like Charlie Kirk's wife, she can say whatever the fuck she wants. Hopefully she doesn't say it publicly, and she did a great job in her speech or whatever. But like, I feel like when you're in that kind of hurt, like, make no mistake, I don't find it hypocritical if I say that you should never take another life if it can be preventable, like, self-defense. That's really the only time I think that it makes sense, and you're kind of forfeiting your life if you're trying to attack someone else physically. But like, you better fucking believe it. If that was Hunter that was shot, I would hunt that motherfucker down and kill him. And would that be right? No. But would I fucking do it? Yes. Would I think that I deserve to go to jail for the rest of my life for it? Yeah. And I would do it anyway, because that's how fucking emotionally tied I am to that man. And like, I can't even imagine not being able to go to sleep with him tonight. And like, that's fucking insanity to me. There are things that will push someone to another dimension of the human condition, another tragic dimension, and that is like over eye for an eyeing. And yeah, that can happen when you're highly emotional. But why are you highly emotional when you just have different political opinions? Like, you really need to take a step back and stop feeling like a whole other side of people, a whole different demographic of people are putting every problem you have in your life on you. You need to stop looking so macro and so it's so scary to look macro and also look without nuance, because then you just make generalizations based on your situation. You're like, it's like that one study. Did you guys see that study? I'm paraphrasing all of the details in that study, but there was one study that was like, they disfigured someone's face, like fakely, obviously, a bunch of girls or whatever. They disfigured their face, and then they had them go to a fucking interview for a job. And before they let them go to the interview, they removed the disfigurement. And every single one of those people, and look this up to, cross-check me or whatever, but every single one of those people came back and said that there was discrimination based on the way that they looked. It's like, when you are within a certain perspective, it's really, really hard for you to not, confirmation bias things and go down weird conspiracy rabbit holes. It's because it's something that you want to believe, or it's something that you want to use to make sense of your own life that, is scarier to not have an answer. Like, there might not be an answer to gun violence or something, and you don't know it and I don't know it, and it's a lot scarier to be like, I don't know. Let's just try to be kinder to each other than be like, we need to do this, and these steps will absolutely make us exactly like the UK. Like, okay, well, in my opinion, let's find out steps to make us more like Switzerland, honestly, because they fucking teach guns at a young age. Everyone has guns. There's little to no gun violence, but let's not get into that. I have no idea how to get there. I don't even know if it's possible. It's like comparing apples and oranges, and really, I implore you guys to honestly look inside of yourself instead of externally all the time. Like, what's going on with you? Like, are you good? Because probably not if you're othering people. Probably not if you're so mad about something that happened to someone, or so happy about it, when they don't even have an effect on your life. Or if you're like adding on a new catastrophizing things that you're making up, like, it's like, okay, this happened so that there's going to be this snowball effect and this snowball effect, and you're getting worked up in your head about something that doesn't exist yet and probably won't exist, instead of maybe focusing on your own mental health or your own happiness. Because people who are focusing so much on external factors like the news and like politics and stuff, they're not happy. You're not happy if you're doing that. You're not happy if you're getting on and like typing madly about someone you don't even know, or even hating on me for whatever fucking reason. Like, you're not, focus on yourself and love thy neighbor. Are you looking when you hold the door open for someone, like if they have blue hair or if they, are old and white? Like, just treat everyone as human beings with curiosity and mourn stuff properly and heal, seriously, because you seeing this, and then if you're right wing, you're seeing this and you're getting mad and you're like, these fucking leftists, and the leftists feel like they're othered and they other you as well. Like, the cycle has to stop, otherwise it's going to turn into like some fucking civil war thing. Hopefully not. Maybe it'll just pass, and hopefully, as long as all of our basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs are met, like we have food, shelter, water generally, hopefully there's not going to be some huge civil uprising or whatever. But you really are adding cortisol to your bodies in a ridiculous amount by caring so much about the news or what your neighbor thinks politically. Like, just please calm down and remember that we're all people. We are all human. Even the most evil deeds are part of the human condition, and they should be examined so that they could be rectified next time. And I know a lot of people use this like, well, he wouldn't have sympathy for you, so why do you have sympathy for him? Because you should be the better person, because an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, because you are unhappy, because you feel this way, because you think this way. So stop. Like, you're making yourself angry, you're working yourself up over someone who's dead, or someone who doesn't even know you exist, or a political party that would fuck you in an instant. Just stop. I've always said to look more into the individual, into yourself, and stop being, I feel like the most unhappy people in the world are the people that identify with a community, you know, like they're, and like heavily do it, you know, like I'm like part of the gaming community. I'm a gamer, like I have a label, but like when you heavily identify with your labels, no matter what they are, if they're God-given labels, like what God-given, I'm not religious, by the way. Ugh. But but I understand the human condition that, you know, makes you religious, all right? And I respect their opinions and their right to have one, big one. Anyway, but like, you, whether it's the blue-eyed club or the white person club or the man club or the woman club or the trans club, whatever, like all that stuff is like, it's inconsequential, because you are a multifaceted being, just like every fucking political issue is multifaceted and every problem in society is multifaceted. So are you. So start being curious about yourself and why you feel so inclined to other someone else and to make yourself feel more superior. All right, I feel like I'm at this point going in circles. I've made my point. I love you guys. I'm gonna get ready for this bondage, and hopefully my boyfriend will be back with coffee. And yeah, have a good day. I love you guys. Back to regularly scheduling. Is this gonna be the reason I have to edit it? Regularly scheduled programming next Friday, or this Friday coming up, depending on when I post this. But yeah, I have a lot of adventure content coming up, so I'm really excited about that. But you know what? So a little aside, I haven't felt as myself and as alive as I had in the last week. And it's because I finally had some random, stupid, terminally online thing happen that made me actually think and made me actually fired up to have an opinion and to start my camera and actually film without any kind of like, oh, I gotta film something for this day, for this day, for this day. Like, I feel alive again. And I actually had an epiphany where I think what was, other than all of the health shit and all of the hardships I've had this year that were like not intended and came out of nowhere, I think what's really been keeping me in a funk is that, like, for the last 5 years, I've been loving my offline life so much, but I haven't had an outlet for creative thought or like for intellectual thought. And this little week of me thinking about this, talking with Red about this and other people, and like posting the YouTube videos and looking at you guys' comments and getting constructive feedback, like this is it, you know? Because the last 5 years, what I've been focusing my intellectual pursuits on is like trying to figure out my attachment styles, which has made me stressed and depressed and made me like overthink myself and like just a bunch of dumb shit, which I needed to do that inner work because I needed to stop being so anxiously attached. But I was way too focused on, because I hyper-focus. That's just like, that's who I am. I don't know if I'm neurodivergent or whatever, but like I hyper-focus on stuff, and I really love debate, and I really love talking things out, and I really love analyzing things, and I didn't have an outlet for that wasn't myself. So it made me hypercritical of myself, and then and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? Because I'm hotter than ever, I'm skinnier than ever, I'm smarter than ever, I have a way better life than ever, but like other than these little health things, like why am I feeling so in the muck? And I feel great now. So more of this is what I'm trying to say. I was going to tell you, basically, I will be doing more of this because I know that's what a big demographic of you guys started actually giving a shit about me for. Obviously, I have great tits or whatever, and I make super hot content like this Barbie bondage, babysitter bondage I'm going to do after this. But like, what set me apart was that, you know, what made people have little parasocial friendships that I also fed back into was that. And so I didn't want to lose that part of myself, and I realized I kind of was focusing that part of myself on stuff like, you guys saw how many fucking relationship videos I made this year, Jesus Christ, or this last 5 years. Well, I'm still, you know, maybe going to do that, but I don't think I need to be so hypercritical on myself. I think I just need to channel that passion I have for critical thinking into something that's not myself, so I don't spiral into that. Well, hopefully all that makes sense. I love you guys once again, and I will see you next time. Bye. Ooh. Love thy neighbor, and if Her husband is not home. Lover extra. Ooh, my Botox is kicking in. Nice.